Hey everybody, what's going on? My name is Josh Waters and you're watching Working From Home, where we interview top professionals in their field of real estate, investing, and business. Today we are talking to Sky Swanson. He is the general manager for Signature Plumbing, Cooling, and Heating, and he's going to give us some super helpful tips on things to do before calling a plumber. Now, this is a money-saving video if there ever was one. This can save you hundreds and thousands of dollars. Let's jump over and talk to Sky. So, Sky, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background as a plumber, a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I've been a plumber for about 22 years now, here in New Mexico. And grew up on a farm, driving our own wells, and just sort of transferred into this industry. Have worked with a variety of different mechanical contractors here in town, and now am a general manager and part owner of Signature Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. So have dabbled in a variety of different plumbing, whether that's commercial, residential, wells and wastewater kind of stuff. So a little bit of everything.
Cool. Well, and as I said in the intro, this what we're here to talk about today is what to do before calling a plumber to your house. What things to look for, things that you can test on your own without spending money, because it can be hundreds of dollars, right? If not thousands of dollars to have a plumber come out.
And I always encourage people to do a lot of background, sleuthing to figure out exactly what's going on, so that it cuts down the amount of time that somebody like myself will take out at your property. And the more research that you've done on the front side, it can seriously save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars.
What are some of the things that you would start with? Say, like, I had somebody call recently and they thought they heard a leak in their bathroom. What things would you do before having a plumbing company come out?
So across the United States, there are two things that result in the highest water bills, and one of those is a leaking flapper in your toilet. The other is a leaking irrigation system. And so I always encourage people, if they say they hear water running somewhere in the house, to first go out to your water meter. Now your water meter, when you uncover it, is going to have what looks like a clock face that will have a large hand that's kind of like your minute hand, and then a smaller dial that could be like a triangle or a star-shaped looking dial that's kind of like your second hand. If there is any water usage in your home, you're going to notice one or both of those starting to spin around in a circle. And so first identifying at the water meter, do I truly have a water leak? Because there can be a variety of different things that you might associate with that sound, but checking the water meter is the first place that says, do I actually have a leak present?
Yeah, is that wheel spinning?
Yeah, if you notice that wheel spinning and no water is on in the home, then it becomes sort of a systematic process of going through and checking different things. Again, first thing that I would check is shutting off the water to your toilets at the little emergency shutoff valve that's at the base of the toilet. Then going back out to your water meter to see if the movement has stopped. If it has, you might have just identified that the toilet was the source of the leak. Now, I've seen a leaking toilet flapper result in a $400 water bill. And so, people might assume that it would just be a small amount that would come from that, but it can end up being rather significant.
And the toilet flapper is just so I make sure that I'm correct and other people at home are correct. It's the round. They're normally red, but it's the round like plunger stopper in the toilet, correct?
Yep, in the center of the tank, rubber that's actuated by the handle, and so yeah, that guy is the number one cause of complaints of water leaks across the U.S.
Wow, that does that little trickle.
Yep. Now, if you notice that the movement continues with the water shut off there, the next thing that I would do is go towards your irrigation system. That can be looking to see if there are like any noticeable wet areas in the lawn. If you have a sprinkler that is lower than the others, is there any water coming out of it even when the system isn't on? Now, some checks with your sprinkler system might require you to have some tools, and so that just depends upon your comfort level and how willing you are to get into it. I'm always willing to coach people over the phone if they feel mechanically inclined, and just willing to jump into that. Everybody has what are called vacuum breakers in association with their sprinkler system, and you can remove the top of them to verify if anything is coming through if you're using electronic valves. So beyond checking your sprinkler system, it really comes down to then isolating, if you continue to have movement in the home, sort of where that might be coming from. If you have a valve that shuts off all the water in the house, you might then shut that off and go and check your water meter. If that valve is turned off and you continue to have movement, then you will have a leak somewhere in between your water meter and that shut-off valve. So somewhere probably within your yard. If you shut off that valve inside of the home and then the movement stops, then you may have found that you have a leak somewhere inside of the home. So a leak that is inside of the home, you can shut off the shut-off valve that's above your water heater. That would isolate the hot and the cold side within your home. Again, this is just about getting you a little bit closer to where the problem is. Typically, hot side water leaks, you might actually start to notice that there's an area on the floor somewhere that's noticeably warm when you walk across it. Cold side water leaks are not going to be as easy. I do find that the majority of the time when someone says that they hear water running somewhere, that is representative of a below ground leak. And so always good to, double check these things. Don't just assume that you're going nuts or anything like that. If you go check that water meter and you see the movement, and then if you had additional questions, you call up, whoever your trusted contractor, whether that's myself or somebody else, and start to ask them some questions. But again, you going through some of these simple steps will get them that much closer to be able to show up and resolve or find the issue quickly.
Yeah. And that'll, of course, save you money if they're not having to go out there and do the research and do the digging themselves, if you already kind of know where it's at.
Absolutely. And you touched on a good point there. Digging is absolutely something that, you're if you're very capable of, and you find an area that is noticeably wet, digging up and exposing the water line, exposing the plumbing that needs to be repaired can save you an amazing amount of money. My sister had a leak at her home and had identified where there was a wet spot just outside of the house and asked me whether or not she could. And I said, absolutely, dig it up. She ended up paying a few $100s instead of closer to $1,000 for the repair. Mm-hmm. And so, definitely worth your time.
Yeah, I actually used to do that in high school as a side job, the digging. Plumber hired me to go dig holes in people's front yards. And so now you're paying another person on top of the plumber if you're not paying the plumber to come out and actually dig a hole. And nobody likes to dig holes in your front yard, so they're going to probably charge you a little extra for doing stuff they don't want to do.
You definitely don't want to pay somebody $120 an hour, or thereabouts to dig a hole. Shoot.
It's crazy.
Toss that shovel to your kid and tell them to get at it.
Right. That's a good idea. So another question I get asked, or an issue that I run into a lot in the real estate side, is leaks underneath sinks.
Yes.
And as you know, the P-trap is what it's called, correct? Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Okay, so the P-trap is a small puzzle. I've taken a few of them apart and moved them, and you have a ton of different pieces trying to work them. So where the water's coming from, can you help people maybe give some advice on finding where that leak is and which part of that P-trap to fix or tighten?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one thing that's always good to note is that those are designed to be put together with just a hand tightened string. And so, not something that you need to be getting on with wrenches and tightening down to that degree. If you find that you can't get it and just tightening it down with your hands, then it may be that the seals inside actually just need to be replaced. And so, starting at the highest point that you can, knowing that water flows downhill with gravity, that starting at the highest point will get you closer to the problem. And then I always encourage people to use a paper towel and actually getting that paper towel and kind of dabbing at the highest points around the connections, then moving down so that you are then stopping, checking to see if you have any moisture on that paper towel. Once you find the highest point that you have moisture at, that is likely where the drip or leak is coming from. So you'll want to then tighten, fix that connection, get it totally dry, run some more water, and check to make sure that that took care of it.
Yeah.
There's always times where people might have multiple leaks along a trap or a drain connection, but more often it's one particular area and not a grouping of different ones.
That's way better than the way I have done it when I've had leaks. I just filled the sink up and dumped a bunch of food coloring in there so I could see where the green water was started to come out to visually see it. But your way seems a lot less messy. So I would do Sky's way, not my way. My way is, I guess, kind of fun if you want to make colors everywhere, but it is messy and it takes a lot more work to do. So do the paper towel thing. That sounds like a better plan than mine.
Food coloring is great if you ever had a question about whether or not your toilet flapper is a cause of a leak inside of your home. Put a couple drops of food coloring in the toilet tank, and you'll quickly be able to see if the water that in the bowl then starts to turn color, that your flapper is indeed leaking.
Yeah, that's smart.
But yeah, for the drain underneath of a sink, just starting with a paper towel, easiest way to double check. And then I do encourage people to usually leave a paper towel on the base of the cabinet. If a paper towel gets wet, it noticeably changes, to where then you can get used to just looking underneath of the sink every once in a while to make note if even there's a small drip there. Because, sometimes when they are small, it's something that you might not notice for a good period of time. And then you end up having the delamination of the plywood or melamine that's underneath of there. And, replacing the base of the cabinet isn't always as easy as you'd like it to be.
Yeah, I deal with that. It comes up very, very often in home inspections where it's just that whole thing is worn or rotted out or completely missing. And that will get dinged on a home inspection. And especially because it's a closed space with, sometimes other things in there. If it sits, I've had issues where it's not as bad in New Mexico, I'm sure, in humid places, but where you can develop mold under there. And then you have whole other issues, more inspections. So knowing it and stopping it early is going to make a huge difference for you, especially
Absolutely.
when it comes to selling down the road, not having to do those major repairs.
Absolutely. Another thing that I will commonly recommend to people is to get a flood leak alarm. They're a small sensor that can be affixed to the bottom of the cabinet, that if it was to get leak, it will start to beep, set off an audible alarm. Those systems can be bought at most big box stores and just run off of a few AAA batteries. And so, investing in $20 to $30 for a leak detector can end up saving you a significant amount of cost in just mitigating damage over a period of time.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. I'll see if I can find some, or if you have some that you recommend, we can drop a link in the description so people can just click right
Absolutely.
there and go snag those.
Absolutely.
Is there any other big issues that you see often, or like when you were going out to when you're working as a plumber, that you would go out and something that somebody could have easily fixed themselves, or YouTube University figured it out in a little bit of time, versus having somebody come out that you didn't necessarily need to have somebody come out.
Yeah, so I would say that drain backup issues are fairly common, and while you don't have to own a drain cleaning machine yourself, using bacterial enzymes to treat your drain system can prevent a whole variety of different problems. And so, that's one that, you again, big box stores sell those types of products. Plumbers like myself also, sell those products. But it seems for me personally, every home that I've bought, almost the first load of laundry that I do, I have backup. And so, doing some things to maintain your system like that can prevent having to call out a plumber. That drain issues are never fun, they're never convenient. Most of the time you notice them when you're having a party, when you're having guests over, and things like that. So that as a preventive measure can make a big difference. But then, really just making it a point every so often. And this doesn't have to be a once a week. It can be once every 6 months, to go through the home and to just make note of the condition of the plumbing. Look underneath of sinks. Try using your emergency shutoff valves. Those shutoff valves, if they're not exercised regularly, can get seized in place, and then will end up being something that can make what could seem like a simple project, like let's say you wanted to put in a new kitchen sink, could then turn into having to call out a plumber because you just can't get the water shut off. So going around checking those things, will be a great benefit to all homeowners, because typically things start gradually and then become a sudden problem. And if you catch it when it's small, then you're able to get it fixed on your time and not have a emergency situation where it's Saturday or after hours, when most contractors are going to be charging you more for their services.
Yeah, and a lot of this stuff, I think that's really good advice, going around and just kind of checking things periodically. I know I could definitely do that more, but it's out of sight, out of mind is a big issue, especially when I go to with home inspections and going through things that you would never think about. And that home inspector looks for everything. That's their job, is to find every little issue that they could possibly find. So when a little thing that could have been fixed becomes a very big thing, it's very frustrating for everyone involved. So I think, yeah, that's awesome advice, Sky. Just going around, every few months and just checking this stuff. Make a little checklist.
I encourage people to use their cell phone and to set yourself periodic reminders. That somebody like myself is more attuned to what mechanical plumbing problems you might have at your home. But if the normal person is not always thinking about their plumbing, if you set yourself a calendar reminder on your telephone for every 6 months, then it will be something that'll pop up. It'll prompt you to, oh, hey, it's time to go do this. You might set that as the same time interval of when you replace the batteries in your smoke alarm or carbon monoxide detector. And that way, it just becomes a part of one of those maintenance items that you do at your home.
Yeah. And that just kind of gave me a great idea. Well, we like to run our lives on a schedule. My wife homeschools our children, so we make everything is when we wake up, when the kids do, everything is a schedule. So putting in that as part of one of the things you do with your children would be a great idea, because this is definitely, some people grow up not knowing how to do these things. So they're very simple, but as we all remember probably, when we moved into our first house by ourselves, you had no idea what happened when something breaks. But I think teaching them early to kind of go through this, and then eventually you don't have to do it anymore, because when they're old enough, you can, all right, guys, house check, and they can go and check these things for you. After all, that's why we have children, to do the things we don't want to do, right?
That's right.
Perfect. Well, is there anything that we missed? This is not the last time that we'll be seeing you. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, if anybody gets to a point where they have questions, they're always welcome to reach out. That I'm available at all times, here at the company, and above and beyond having to call out somebody. You should always have a contractor that you know and trust who's able to field questions over the phone. Sometimes it's, hey, Sky, do I turn this to the left or turn it to the right? Calling up and asking those questions, somebody like myself is going to be very willing to answer, because, I feel horrible driving out to somebody's house and just, turning something and then handing them a bill where... Yeah. If I can coach somebody over the phone and how to correct the issue or troubleshoot it on their own, and then they end up calling me out when it is something that's outside of their comfort level or their ability to fix, then, that's really where I'm providing the value for my service. And so, as people come to have problems, please know that, we here at Signature are always willing to help in whatever way, even if it isn't coming out to the house.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love that. And that's one of the reasons that I'm doing this video with you and send my people your way, is I really like in my business working with honest, reputable contractors and service providers that are going to provide the same quality of service that I provide and that you're used to with me, you're going to get from my service providers.
Really something that we aim to help and educate our customers in whatever way that we can. Even if you don't use us, I want to make sure that everybody out there has all the knowledge necessary to get exactly what they need and what they want out of the contractor that comes to do work at their home.
Awesome, Sky. Well, that was a ton of super good information. We're going to have you on again. We're going to do a bunch more of these together. And I already have some ideas brewing in my head for future working at home episodes with you. For now, we'll drop all of your information, everything in the description. So if anybody out there needs to get a hold of Sky or a plumber or contractor, we can get you that information so you can contact them directly. And then, of course, if you guys know of anybody, run into anybody looking to buy or sell any real estate, I am also never too busy for your referrals and always happy to help.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sky and Signature Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, for taking the time with us to teach us some of that awesome information. We'll definitely have you on again to learn more from you. So if you want to know everything there is to know about living in the Albuquerque metro area, or hear from other top professionals in real estate, business, and investing, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll get more videos out to you weekly. And of course, if you have any real estate questions, or you're looking to move to the Albuquerque metro area, or looking to buy or sell here, you can click the link in the bottom of this video and it'll take you right to our website. You can set up an appointment either virtually or in person, and we look forward to seeing you. Bye.